Welcome to the Made in Office Empower Enterprise demo, where I will take you through our software and show you the highlights and features of our PowerPoint content management tool. Let's get started. To begin, you will notice that there's no need to open a third-party application or browser to access Empower Enterprise. As our product installs as an add-in, all you need to do is open PowerPoint. Right after PowerPoint launches, Empower will launch. Great. First thing I'd like to show you is that right up here is the Empower add-in. Here you'll have access to all the tools and features that Empower has to offer. On the right-hand side, you have the Quick Access toolbar, and you'll see this bar in action as we go throughout the demo. You'll also notice here that a master has been opened up for me automatically by default. From this, I can show you here under New that you have access to all your company-wide approved masters. And so I chose this blue one as default, and it's quite simply all you have to do is just right-click, click on Set as Default, and there you go. Great. So let's start by creating an agenda, something that we normally do when starting a PowerPoint presentation. So I will click on the agenda here. I will type in About Made in Office. Q&A. About Empower. And now I'll create the agenda. And here you go. So you can see here's the agenda. The look and feel of this agenda matches my master. The look and feel of the agenda will match your master. And so now I'm going to go into the library and start pulling some slides. First I want to show you how easy it is to go and get slides, and then I'll go back into the library and we'll explore some of the features of the library. Okay, great. So to access the library, the first thing I'm going to do is just click on this button. When I do that, the Empower library will open, and now I have access to company-wide presentations and slides. So I'll go in here and let me grab these 3 slides. I'm selecting multiple slides just by hitting Shift. I can drag and drop just by going ahead and dropping that in there. Great. And now I'll go to the last slide. In fact, I'll delete these. And I'll add a few more slides here. Now, I'm going to grab something that we call a slide set. These are actually 3 slides that have been uploaded together in order. They will be downloaded and inserted into my presentation in order. And also, if you notice, it's in my orange template, but it doesn't matter. Empower will quickly switch them over to my blue template. And in this case, instead of dragging and dropping, I'm just going to double click. Great. So now, here are my 3 slides. So now, as you can see, we've started our presentation, but you know what? I want to move Q&A last, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorder very easily my presentation. So I'm going to grab Q&A. I can drag and drop, but I'm going to click the down arrow and hit Update Agenda. And when I do that, of course, the agenda has been reordered. But in addition to that, I want you to notice that the slide that belonged with the About Empower section actually moved along with it. And so now, there are no slides after Q&A, but of course in section 2 About Empower, I have my 3 slides. Great. So let's talk a little bit about the library. I'm going to open up the library, and here you go. So the first thing I want you to notice is that you have 3 different sections in the library, right? You have the company library, the user library, and your corporate design templates. Your corporate design templates is where all your company-wide approved assets to create PowerPoint presentations is going to be housed. So for example, here are some slide templates. You can go in, process and flows, for example. I have my text elements, my charts, tables, pictures, etc. Everything that you would need to access quickly to create your presentation. Now, both the company library and the user library have folder-level permissions, and it attaches to your Active Directory, and from there you can apply those permissions. So for example, here I can right-click on Corporate, I can hit Edit Permissions, and when I do that, I have a list of users that have access to this particular folder, and by clicking Add, I can search for new users and then give them a role, whether it be an administrator, an author, or an editor. Simple as that. Now, a typical use case for Empower, we're working with Empower, would be that, let's say I needed to create a presentation from scratch. I would go into my library, as I just did. I would go into the company library, and I would pull, let's say, down a core deck, perhaps a product deck. I would work on my desktop and start building the presentation, and when I'm ready to collaborate with my colleagues, I would upload it to my user library. So for example, here in my quarterly report, I have my big sales presentation. Here, I have a few users that are collaborating with me. So for example, Daniel is taking care of these 2 slides. Julian is taking care of these 2 slides. There are some slides that have been checked out. This is a soft checkout, not a hard checkout, and that was done on purpose in case someone's on vacation and you need to take over the slide and move on. You have the option to do so. And in addition to this, you also have versioning. So from here, I can right-click on this table. I can select version history. And so from here, I can see what's been going on with this slide. So, for example, I created this slide at 11:02. At 11:15, Daniel actually said, hey, you need to add a disclaimer, you need to change these numbers. And at 11:16, I made those changes. Now, you can say, well, it's kind of tough to see those changes. We've allotted for that. So now if I click on the version that Daniel uploaded, and I check this little button here that says show differences to the current version, you'll see that Empower actually highlights the differences between this revision and the current slide. Of course, if you have write access to this particular slide, you can go ahead and restore a previous version, allowing you to go back to it in history and make that the current slide. Okay, great. Let's talk about search. That's another key feature of the Empower library. I'm going to search for the word bar. And in doing so, what you're going to see is that I have here some slides, I have here some charts, but in addition to this, I wanted to take the time here to explain that everything in Empower is actually an element, and because it is an element, it has certain attributes associated with it. So, for example here, this is a chart, this is not a slide. I can actually upload charts into Empower, and when I update those charts, if they're on a slide, you will get notification that that chart has been updated without affecting the rest of the slide. So here, for example, I just want to search for the word bar, and I only want to see charts. I can filter by chart. I can also say, well, show me slides. In addition to that, here on the left-hand side, I can also filter by location. So if I'm looking for the word bar, and I know it's in my sales folder, Empower will show me the brochure, that, or rather the presentation that has it. I can also click on the actual slide. Now, very quick but powerful way to get somewhere. When we show you relevant slides for a search, we take about 10 different points into account. So for example, obviously the keyword, but whether the keyword's in the title, whether it's in the body, whether it's in the footnotes, whether it's in the notes section, whether it's in a chart. In addition to that, we keep track of some metadata. I can show you this by just highlighting over this eye here. And you can see in this little gray box, we keep track of who authored the slide, when it was last modified, who modified it, how many times that element has been inserted into a presentation from the library. We have a personal rating, and of course we have a company-wide average rating. In addition to this, we also have tagging. Everything can be tagged. Now, all this now, in conjunction with the search function, allows you to get to things quickly. So here, for example, I'm going to search for the term Google integration. So I'm going to type in Google, and now I can see that other people actually have been searching for Google. I see Google Maps, etc., but I want Google integrations. I'm going to click on that, I hit return, and here are my results. But you know what? I only want to see Google integrations or find slides that have it in the title. So I'm just going to type in title, return. And now you can see here, these are the slides that have Google integrations in its title. And by the way, I can just click on this magnifying glass and then scroll through my results. Just by clicking on this arrow here, you can see Google integrations. Here it's Lorem Ipsum. And all these slides have it only in the title. A very powerful tool to get to where you need to and get your assets quickly. No more searching and trying to figure out where things are. Now, the other big feature of our Empower library is that you have offline capability. And so what does this mean? Well, this means if you're in an airplane or you're in a hotel and you don't have access to the internet, you can continue working. Basically, you'd be working with the latest snapshot or the last snapshot from when you were last in the office. And so from here, you can go into the library, grab your slides, continue working as if you were connected to the network, and then obviously once you get back into the office or VPN in, you can go ahead and sync your slides and upload your slides, and in the background, Empower will start syncing updates and downloading new assets onto your machine. So that way, again, you have a local copy for it in case you do go offline again. Very powerful tool, a great way to allow people to be productive and not have to be tethered to the internet to create PowerPoint presentations. All right, so let's go ahead and start adding some slides. The first thing I'd like to do is go to New Slide and insert a title and content slide. I'd like to show you some features we've added to PowerPoint here. Now, with these icons, if I were to click on Pictures in PowerPoint, I'd be sent to to Insert and in Pictures, and then I'd have to go ahead and hunt around for the image that I need. But with Empower, we've added some functionality here. So now if I were to click on this Insert Table button, for example, I get sent to my tables via the quick access toolbar here. If I click on my pictures, here are my images, my charts, my smart arts, really giving the user the ability to get to the library and what they're looking for quickly. Now, let's insert a slide and an image slide. So I'm going to go ahead and say New Slide, grab this image here. Now, Empower also helps larger companies deal with image management. Sometimes larger companies have an issue where users are going out and going into Google, copy and pasting an image from Google. So now you have the issue where you have no license for the image is not on brand, and of course it's not on message. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the icon here, and when I do so, I land, of course, in the image section. I can go ahead and search for the image. Let's say I'm going to look for the word person, and I will just click on this image here and type in Q&A, and I'm done. I can move on. So these are images now that have the correct resolution, they're on message, and they're on brand. And obviously we're giving a user very quick access to these images, whereby it's easier than going around and hunting for Google. It's all there in one location. Now, let's go ahead and add a chart. That's something that's a very common occurrence. So we'll go into New Slide, to Content. I'm going to go and open up my Excel. And I'll just make that half the screen here. Great. First I'm going to do is just copy and paste. So I'm going to Control-C. Excellent. I will grab my table. And last but not least, I'm grabbing my source. So here I am. So let's format these quickly, and we're going to probably do this in 4 clicks. So I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to go into my text elements. I'm going to select my footnote and hit Apply. I'm going to select my table and then go into Tables, and I'll choose my number table with some color. Excellent. And last but not least, I have my chart. I'm going to go into my charts, click on Bar Chart, hit Apply. And so now, as you can see, something that would take normally, 6 to 8 minutes, now in a few clicks you have a chart, a slide that has formatted a chart and a table and a footer, all in the proper location, all on point, matching with the master. This is really allowing users to create PowerPoint presentations faster. We really want to have people be productive and focus more on the content than they are sitting there hunting and pecking and looking for slides, in addition to spending time formatting slides. We recommend no more than, I'd say, 10 to 12 different layouts. But of course, your users are going to need slide templates, and we've allotted for that. So here, if you click on the slide template, you have all these different slide templates to choose from. So for instance, we have text boxes, process flows, etc., maps. And it's also, again, searchable and very easily to access and use. So for example, here I can go ahead and say world map. I just double click on that. Great, and now I can just say, okay, well, I have access to, let's say, Brazil, and I'll go with the Empower and just fill that in right here. Great, and now we have a market in Brazil. So now that we've gone and created some new slides, let's go save a slide into the library. So from here, I can go ahead and say, Save in Library. I'll hit Save As. And now I'll just choose my Empower demo folder here. Call it World Map Test, and I'll hit OK. And now my slide has been successfully saved. Great. Now, let's talk about updates. So from a content creator point of view, I just uploaded or updated a slide. So if I did that, I want to make sure that these slides are updated in other presentations. So here you'll notice there's a little link button right here. And this little link button is telling you that this slide has been used in multiple presentations within the library. So I can right-click on this. I can say Open Update Center. And when I do that, Empower is showing me all the presentations that have that slide. So if I updated that slide from there, I can say, well, you know what, updated in these 3 presentations. And I can just go ahead and click on Update. And when I do that, Empower will update that slide in these 3 presentations without me having to open up PowerPoint or download anything. It's a bulk updating tool. And that's really good, again, for content creators. Now, from the opposite side of the coin, you have a content consumer. And I'll show you how an update looks from that end. So from here, I can close this Excel. So now from here, I'm going to open up what I call last week's sales presentation. This is a presentation that I presented last week. I need to present tomorrow. It's 95% done. There's no reason why I shouldn't use it. It's efficient for me to use this tool, and I need to, let's say, change a logo and add some slides to it, but for the most part, it's done. Now, going to open up this slide again. This is on my machine. It is not in the library. So when I open this up, the first thing you notice is that Empower notifies me that there have been updates. The master has been updated, and there are 3 slides that have been updated. So I'm going to go ahead and start the wizard. I'll make this a little larger for you. So now Empower here with this wizard is telling me, showing me rather, on the left-hand side, the slide as it exists in my current presentation. And on the right-hand side, the slide as it exists in the library. And you can see here in yellow again, I can turn this on and off, it's showing me the differences between the 2. So for example here, under my benefit, I now have a 10th benefit. Excellent, I'll update the slide. Here, my employees have gone up, and here my sales chart has changed. I can notice that we're actually using different years. Great, I'll update the slide. In addition to this, I notice that my master has been updated, last modified 1 month ago, so I'll go ahead and update the master, and then hit apply. Now when I do that, Empower is in the background, is updating the slides for me, updating the master, and now I'm working with the latest content. So we're no longer emailing our colleagues, hey, who has the latest sales slide? You know, you email your team, and hopefully someone says, hey, I think I have the latest one. That workflow is gone. Now someone can be responsible for the, let's say, the sales slide, and every quarter he or she needs to update the slide. And when that person does update the slide and upload it to the library, whoever has that slide in their presentation, when they open up their presentation, they will be receiving notification that that slide has been updated and showing them the difference between the 2. It's a great way to have people use the latest content, really be up to date with content without having to go look for it. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next feature here that I want to show you, which is the design check. It's a great way to help maintain brand consistency. So I'm going to close this tool right here, or rather this presentation. I'm going to open up my old solutions portfolio presentation. And when I do that, the first thing you'll notice is, of course, that it is, well, it's a light blue. It's completely different than what you've been seeing. So I'm going to have Empower help me fix this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just click on the design check. And when I do that, Empower is immediately notifying me that I'm using the wrong master. So I'm going to go ahead and change that first. And I'll do that by selecting Select Master. Of course, Empower is going to drop me off into the library, into my approved masters, right? And I'm going to select my blue one. I'll just double click on that. Now, great, the master has been changed, but you can still see there's some issues with my presentation. It seems I'm using a purple and blue that I can't use, along with some other things. Now, here I'll take the opportunity to explain that what we do with Empower is we take your corporate design and we embed it in PowerPoint. So for example, with my presentation here in my master, I can only use one font, and I'm only presented with one font. In addition to that, I'm not allowed to use anything less than 8-point, for example, if I report to the SEC. And so 6-point is not an option. And in addition to this, you'll notice that my font color, line color, and fill color are all independent palettes. So now, users don't have to remember, hey, what's my company color, or what fonts can I use or can't I use? It's there for them. This is, you're feeding them what they're allowed to use. So here, I'm going to change my font color, and by the way, it's 15 different instances that I have where I'm using this purple. I could have just double-clicked on one and say, okay, here it is, and try to change it, but I don't have to do that. I can do this in bulk. And so what I can do is just click on this box right here. I say replace it, and I'm going to replace it with my blue. I hit apply. My colors, I'll choose this one. And these gray colors, I will choose this gray. My font size, again, I cannot use 6 point, so I will up that to 8 point. I'm not allowed to use these fonts. And lastly, I'm going to fix my placeholder. Now, logo protection area. This feature is really, it's a new feature in Empower, and it's something very powerful. I'm going to just click on slide 2 to show you. What this is alerting me to is that I have an object that is too close to my logo. In Empower 7, you can actually declare a logo area, and so for instance a distance that protects the logo, and so anything that invades that space will be in violation of the design check. And so to get rid of this violation, I can just simply move this to over here, and then I hit refresh, and now you can see that my presentation is approved. This is a quick way of really getting your presentation on brand and matching your corporate design. In addition to this, you'll notice here that, okay, well, some of the footers are off, and that's because we've inherited some layouts. Of course, if you copy and paste from different presentations, you'll inherit these layouts. I don't need them. And so with Empower, we actually have a tool to help fix this. We can just go ahead into Master and Footer, and I'll say click on the Layout Cleaner. And when I do that now, my layouts have been cleaned. Empower has an algorithm that goes in and understands which layouts are being used, which ones belong to the master, which ones need to be replaced, and does that automatically for you. So that way, you're left with a clean presentation with layouts that are being used and not having any extras. By the way, let's just put in an image again here just to make this pretty. Great. And now we're done. So the next thing I want to show you is I want to move on and I want to show you some layout tools. So I'm going to open up another presentation here. I'll double click on that. Great. So we're going to highlight some of these productivity features, again allowing users to create presentations quickly. So here I'll select these two objects. I'm going to go into my layout section here and click on this Align Left button. Now, the first time you click on one of these buttons, it is a native PowerPoint functionality, but I click on it again, and then Empower takes over. And we understand that, hey, you actually meant to align here to the left margin, not to the end of the page, which PowerPoint would send you. We can dock elements quickly, just by selecting these two, and then go ahead and set docking. There you go. We can also do that. Switching positions, something that can be done very quickly. Again, just toggling back and forth. Adjusting height and width. Now this is something I use quite often. Select the two objects. I'm going to click on the auto width, the same width the first time. Empower says, okay, you meant the smaller size. You click on it again, Empower understood you meant the larger size. And again, shorter, taller. And just a few clicks, I now have two objects that are the same height and width. Here, aligning objects. We're going to align and distribute actually. So I'm going to grab these objects. I'm going to move them to the left. And then pay attention to statement 2. I'm going to click on the distribute button the first time, again, native PowerPoint functionality. Click on it again, Empower takes over and says, okay, you meant the margin and put it in the middle. And click on it yet again, and now you actually are left with a custom margin that you can define between that. Fit to width, just simply click a button that says fit to width. Fit to height, click on the button that says fit to height. Here you'll notice that this object is outside of the area here and does not meet the margin up here, so I'm just going to hit fit to area. And then last but not least, here you have a chart, very small, you want to fit to area, just simply click the button. In addition, sometimes you have presentations where an object jumps around. So for example, pay attention to this section 1 here. So you can see as I go from slide to slide, it's jumping around all over the place. Well, we have a tool to help take care of that. Just click on the correct positioning of that object, and in this case I'll say this black one right here. I'll hit apply position, apply repeatedly, and now I just have to go into the slides and just click on the object, and the object will be sized and also placed in the correct location. So now when I'm done, I can go ahead, oops, close this off, and now you can see that that object no longer moves. It stays in its proper place. If you have to share a presentation, I want to show you here a quick way of sharing a presentation, some more productivity tools. I can go ahead and, let's say, select these 3 slides. I can click on Send. And when I do that, I can say, let's call it for review. And then I'll hit New Mail. And when I do that, Empower's preparing a PDF. We'll auto-populate that PDF and attach it to my email. We'll add the subject line, and from there, all I need to do is put in the person's name and send it off. And that person will have a PDF, let's say, of the slides that I chose. Now, as much as I decided to send this in PDF, I could also send it in other formats, for example, PowerPoint, a PPT. I can send the current slide or the entire presentation. In terms of versioning of PowerPoint, you're limited to the version of PowerPoint that you have. So if you have 2013, you can go as high as 2013. If you have 2010, it'll be 2010, etc. Thank you for watching this Empower Enterprise demo. If you have questions or would like more information regarding this product, please visit us at empower-enterprise.com. We look forward to hearing from you.